Welcome to the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. Here's your host, Brien Hanley.
Hey, everybody. What's going on? This is your man, Big B, Brien Hanley. Excuse me. Welcome to Big 12 Insiders. Appreciate you guys being in here. Oh, ugly. It was a lost weekend for the Big 12, ladies and gentlemen. A lost weekend. We just have to own it. We can't hide from it. We can't run from it. We had just an enormous opportunity to take a step forward as a conference, and we did not do that. We did not do that. Like, it was a lost weekend for the Big 12. I'm not saying we have to hang our heads or anything like that, but we got to own it, because if we're in this situation and it's another conference, we're talking about them having for instance, the Big Ten. The Big Ten. We can say the Big Ten blew it. The Big Ten absolutely blew it. So we can't hide or run from any of that. We're going to talk about all that here today, man. So appreciate everybody being in here. Before we get started, again, as always, remember to like, follow, subscribe, continue to get in those comments section, and always hit that notification bell so you know exactly when the Big 12 Insiders content comes out. So I appreciate your all support. Let's dive into this thing. Coming into the weekend, I said, and when I say weekend, I'm starting on Thursday. We're going to recap all of it, people. I said this was a huge opportunity for the Big 12. Made some predictions, thought that the Big 12 could win a couple of games that maybe we didn't think that we could. Thought two teams would get to the Final Four. I'm like, yeah, two teams should be able to get there. Didn't start great because BYU got slaughtered. That just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. They got slaughtered. Now, here's the thing. Again, the team broke the NCAA record for three-pointers made in a game, in a tournament game. What are you going to do? Team makes 25 three-pointers. And again, I know Alabama's a really good basketball team, and they are. And if we're being honest, they're better than BYU. They've got better athletes. They just have better players. They're a better basketball team. There's no crime in saying that. There's nothing wrong with admitting that. But you thought BYU had an opportunity because BYU plays its best when it gets out on the run. You knew Alabama was going to push the pace. If BYU could just make shots, they were going to be in that basketball game. Well, it was the exact opposite. Alabama made everything. Again, they took 51 three-pointers and shot 49%. Come on, man. Nobody's losing like that. And then to top off all of that, BYU couldn't throw it in the ocean. Well, a blowout is what you're going to look like, and that's exactly what happened. So, again, no skin off BYU's, off of them, because at the beginning of the year, nobody thought they'd be there. But I understand expectations change as the season goes on. You can't just start, at the beginning of the year, we didn't think we were going to be any good. Well, you were good, so your expectations have to change as the season goes along. You can't base everything off of what you thought you were going to be. You have to base it on what you actually are. And BYU was a really good basketball team. They ran into a buzzsaw. It happens, man. It happens. In these one-game tournaments, somebody gets hot like that, what are you going to do? They're hot, you're not. Blowout happens. Hey, tip your cap, you move on. Then Arizona did exactly what we thought they needed to do to beat Duke. We said Arizona's got to play the best game of the season. They got to make a bunch of shots. They got to be fit. They have to play their best to beat Duke. And guess what? Arizona played their best, and it still wasn't enough. Well, what the hell are you supposed to do? You know what I'm saying? I mean, Arizona literally, in my opinion, now there may be some Arizona fans out there that think, oh, no, Big B, they didn't play their best. To me, I watched a lot of Arizona basketball games this year. I thought this was their best game. I really did, because Duke is outstanding defensively. Outstanding, not good. They are outstanding defensively. Arizona put up 93 points on them. I mean, I just thought it was the best game Arizona could have played. I thought it was the best game they played all year. Duke just played better. And again, same scenario. Duke is a better basketball team than Arizona. Again, That's not a knock to Arizona. I mean, it's just sometimes it's just the fact. Sometimes a team is just better than you are. Hey, what do you do? Again, a situation. You just tip your cap. Hey, man, Duke's better. They played better, and we played our best. And that, to me, if I'm an Arizona fan, I'm like, hey, man, we went out to number one, probably the best team in the country. That's number one. But number two, we went out guns blazing. We went out playing the best game that we could play, and that just wasn't good enough. Like I said, what the hell? What are you supposed to do? You play the best you can, and somebody just plays better than you. Hey, again, tip your cap, move on. But that still doesn't take the sting off of, okay, well, the Big 12 had two opportunities. One, the team played bad and got blown out. Two, team played good and still lost. Doesn't change the fact that those were opportunities that the Big 12 didn't take advantage of. Not blaming anybody, but facts are just the facts, people. We can't get past that. Then Tech played awful, in my opinion, on Thursday. I thought Tech, that was one of the worst games I've seen Tech play. And I think part of it is maybe it wasn't the worst game. They just didn't make any shots. Let's just say that. They just didn't make shots. And when you don't make shots, and then a guy that averages 14 points a game from you is one of the best three-point shooters in the country doesn't play, you're going to be affected. And Tech was affected. Again, they're starting to play better competition, and that's what happens. But they won. Give them credit. Houston, same thing. I didn't think Houston played well at all against Purdue, but made a play at the end, and that's kind of what you do. That's kind of what Houston has done all year. In the games where they don't play great, they find a way to win. They make that one extra play to be able to win the basketball game. And they did that against Purdue. I mean, that was an incredible inbounds play. It was an incredible inbounds play, but it was more fortunate because the guy guarding the inbounder, I know everybody drew it up, and it was a great play by Kelvin Sampson. It was an outstanding play. But I thought the kid, when they threw it into Roberts, I thought that was the play because he read it perfectly. Inbounder goes and tries to cover the three going wide. He inbounds it to Roberts. Roberts is like, oh, well, you want to do that? I'm going to throw it right back inside. I thought that's what he did. And I think they were taught, hey, if the inbounder goes and covers the screen, the inbounder, or the guy that's guarding the inbounder, I should say, goes and covers that wide screen, that flare screen, the inbounder is going to be wide open because that guy is the guy that's guarding the screener is not going to be able to come back and guard him underneath the basket. I mean, he said it. They've been drilled. Great play. Made a play at the end. So we got two teams moving forward to the weekend. All right. We're thinking we got a shot here. Florida's really, really good, but so is Tech. So is freaking Tech. And we think that Houston is better than Tennessee. It's going to be a slugfest, but when Tennessee gets into those fights against teams that can really guard you, Tennessee shuts down. So we're going to see what happens. Okay. First, Tech. Oh, man. I hate this for them, but we've got to be honest, people. Tech choked this one away. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts. I made a little short video about it. There's just no other way that I can describe it. Tech choked this one away. You're up 9 with under 3 minutes to go, and you've out-toughed Tech or Florida all game long. You've played better than Florida all game long. You ran them off the three-point line all game long. You have to win that basketball game. You were putting yourself, you put yourself in a position to win. You did. And there's going to be people that are going to say, well, Florida made tough shots. And they did. They made tough shots. They absolutely did. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They made tough shots, but good teams make tough shots. You had your opportunity. Look, Florida makes a 3. You missed the front end of a 1-and-1. First, Florida missed a 3. You can't get the defensive rebound. You can't get the rebound, move the ball around, boom, Florida hits a 3. Then Florida calls a timeout. Then they go into foul mode. Okay, they foul you. Miss the front end of a 1-and-1. Come back down. They make another three. Like, hold on a second. Why aren't we guarding the three-point line like we have been all game long? Run them off the three-point line. Did not happen. Get fouled again. Miss the front end of a 1-and-1. Florida comes down. Makes another three. Uh-oh. Miss a shot. Or no, take that back. Make a layup. Go up two. Boom. Come back down. I couldn't believe what was going on. I was like, we gave up 4, and I say we because Tech is part of the Big 12 conference. And I don't think that's how I think something else happened. I think we missed another layup. They tie the game, and then Tech makes a layup, goes up 2. And then we come down, a guy gets a ball, dribbles out to the three-point line, and basically shoots a turnaround fall-away 3 and knocks it in. And I'm like, unbelievable. But Tech choked this one away. I can't sugarcoat that. I want to. Y'all know I've been talking the high about Tech all year. But what are we going to say? Those things happened. They choked the basketball game away. I was disgusted. And again, Florida's a really good basketball team, people. They are. They're a really good basketball team. So at the end of the day, if you'd have just said, well, Florida won, they made more plays at the end to win, you'd think, okay, yeah, I can see that if you didn't watch the basketball game. But if you did, there's nobody that can come away with that and say Tech didn't choke. I'm sorry to say it. That's going to ruffle some feathers, some Red Raider fans, but I also think there's going to be some Red Raider fans that are going to be honest and say, yeah, Big B, we choked this one away. And it hurts me to say that. It sucks to say it. It quite frankly, it pisses me off to have to say it because of how, look, I was wrong. And, you know me, I don't like to be wrong, but I was so high on Tech, and they're going to beat Florida. They can beat Florida. And they had it. Ugh. And gave it away. And then Houston. Look, man, here's what I'm going to say about Houston. There's been people that get in the comments that keep saying, why can't you say Houston's good? I have said Houston is good all year long. Just because I talk about other teams too doesn't mean I don't know who the best team in the Big 12 was by far. That doesn't mean that I don't know that. But you know what? I'll take the onus and put it on myself too, and put me as part of my next statement. Houston, I believe, is the most disrespected and underappreciated number 1 seed probably in the history of the tournament. Nobody talks about, not enough people anyway, talk about how good this basketball team is. Like, you hear, well, they're defensive minded and they're tough. Well, they've been saying the same thing about Houston for years. But the difference, this team makes shots. And when they do make shots, that defense doesn't go away. Like, sometimes that teams that make a bunch of shots, that their defense gets laxed and all that, and they turn into more of an offensive team. That isn't Houston. Houston doesn't do that. Yeah, they're making more shots this year, but they're still grind. Ask Tennessee. They blew Tennessee out. Blew them completely out. Game over first half. The game was over in the first half. That was it. Houston got into them, made them uncomfortable. And what did I tell you at the very beginning of this? I said, if you guard Tennessee, and teams had done that to them all year, the teams that got a little physical because they got really smallish guards that like to drive and play physical. I said, if you get physical with Tennessee, they will fold. They had done it all year. Well, who's going to get more physical than Houston? Who's going to play better defense than Houston? Nobody. And this is exactly what happens. They got physical, made shots, and the end result was an absolute blowout. But again, I'll step into the fray with it. Houston, and say this again, Houston is the most underappreciated and disrespected number 1 seed that I can remember. Like, is anybody talking about them? And sure, people think they're going to go and be the sacrificial lamb to Duke this coming up weekend, and we'll get to that, down the road. We'll get to that later this week. But yeah, Houston showed its dominance, blew Tennessee out, moving on to the Final Four. So to kind of put a bow on it, yeah, it was a lost weekend for the Big 12, man. It just was. It was a missed opportunity because we had an opportunity to at least get two teams into the Final Four, which would have said something, in my opinion. It would have said something. It would have said, hey, everybody's talking about the SEC. Well, look who's standing tall. Big 12's got two teams in. The SEC only had one. But we can't do that. And that's why I say it's a lost weekend and a missed opportunity. And look, I've been on record saying I believe that the SEC was the better basketball conference this year. I believe that. I mean, I'm not a fool, And if there's one thing you guys know about me is you may not like my opinion and you can disagree with it, but I'm going to give it to you honest. And if we're all being honest about this thing, the SEC was just a better conference than the Big 12 this year. They proved it in the non-con, They proved it. You could say, well, they flooded the NCAA tournament. They put 14 teams in, and at least 3 of them probably didn't belong, which I agree with. At least 2 absolutely didn't belong, and we know West Virginia did. So there's that. But they did get 7 teams into, the Sweet 16. You can say they flooded the tournament, but those teams still had to go win basketball games. They still had to win, because they didn't just say, hey, you got 14 teams in. We're guaranteeing you 7 spots in the Sweet 16. They didn't do that. You had to go win games. And they did. But so did the Big 12. The Big 12 did the same thing. And that's why I was like, you know what? I'm impressed because we've got an opportunity. I was encouraged. We got an opportunity to take a step forward. Would it have meant that the Big 12 was the best conference this year? No, it wouldn't have meant that. But it would have given a bigger stake of a claim, to, I guess, if you wanted to put it in business terms, a little bit more stake to market share, because the Big 12 could have said, hey, man, look, we had 7 teams in. We got 2 in the Final Four. So, yeah, we play some good basketball in the Big 12, too. I know you guys don't want to talk about that. You don't want to say that, And that's the thing, our good friends at ESPN, some of those coaches you would think would be on the side of a guy like Kelvin Sampson and just talking and praising, Houston. You won't hear a whole lot about Houston all week long. You won't. You'll hear tidbits. You'll hear some, but it'll be mostly that Duke is just better. They're so much better offensively. Cooper Flagg is the greatest thing since sliced bread. You're going to hear all of that stuff. You're going to hear all of it. He's a generational talent. I don't know when a prospect's been this good. You'll hear all of that. And then you'll hear, Houston is tough. That's what you'll hear. Houston's tough. Doesn't talk about how they got great shot makers, how they can break you down off the dribble, how their defense is phenomenal. They can guard at every single position. They make everything tough. Nope, you'll just hear Houston's tough. They're a tough-minded team, and that's it. That's all you're gonna hear. It's mind-boggling, but we get it. We've been here. It's the same thing. And I so hope Houston wins. I can't tell you how much I want Houston to win a national championship. Number one, because Houston hasn't done it before. And probably at least once they've had the best team and they didn't win. I don't know if in 84, I don't know if a lot of you were around, but in 84, I don't think they were better than that Georgetown team. In 83, they were absolutely better than that NC State game. But I'll say this, and Houston fans, you may be mad at me. Okay. But you had one of the worst coaches in college basketball with that talent. I mean, he was up there with with Dale Brown for having a ton of talent, Hall of Fame talent that couldn't do anything with it. Couldn't do anything with it. Now, again, Houston fans, you may be mad at me, but you know I'm not wrong. You know, Houston should have at least 2 titles. All that talent that they had running through there, you know, late 70s, early 80s, Lord have mercy. And to come away with nothing? And it's tough to win a national title. I get it. It is. But it was a lot less tough back then than it is now. And just because parity, because it seemed like back then everybody went to the school. And either way, bottom line is I want Houston to win this national title. If for nothing else, to shut people up. If for nothing else, that reason and that reason alone. To say, you know what? Maybe they do play good basketball in the Big 12. Maybe we've been overlooking this conference and this team that not only won that conference by 4 games, only lost 1 game in the conference all year long. Maybe they're actually a really good basketball team that we just overlooked and haven't talked about. So we'll dive deeper into it as the week goes on. So, but I want to iterate, and I hate to end on a sour note. It's just a bad weekend for the Big 12. You know, I just can't sugarcoat it. Don't want to sugarcoat it. You know me. I'm going to tell the truth and be honest to a fault, maybe. But it was just a bad weekend, an opportunity missed. Maybe that's a better analogy versus saying a bad weekend. Maybe it was just an opportunity missed that the Big 12 could have taken a step forward and we didn't. Brett Yormark is probably just beside himself. Texas Tech fans, I know that you're beside yourself. I absolutely know it because you had the game. I'm not even saying that you are a better basketball team than Florida because that might be a stretch. But I know on that particular Saturday, you know, for 37 and a half minutes, you were better than Florida. But in the last 2.5, you weren't, and that cost you a trip to the Final Four. That's gut-wrenching. That's gut-wrenching, and I feel for you, Tech fans. I feel for you, Red Raider fans. I really do. I really do. But we got to rebound, Big 12. We got to rebound. Let's get on Houston's back, and let's root those guys to victory, man. So appreciate everybody being in here. Thank you guys again for all your all support, man. I really do appreciate it. Again, make sure you get in the comments. Let me know what you think. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow, man. Talk to you soon. Have a good one.
Thank you for watching the Big 12 Insiders, your Big 12 sports show. This has been a Spirit Street production.